The DOJ has announced a couple of different changes to the way their agents are going to be doing business, and we will have to see how far this actually goes, how significant the change is, but it looks on its surface like good news. So effectively, their use of force policy has been updated for the first time in nearly 2 decades, outlining a sort of proactive need for their agents to intervene when they see law enforcement engaging in brutality. So we're gonna get you to the actual section there. This was announced by Attorney General Merrick Garland, saying officers will be trained in and must recognize and act upon the affirmative duty to intervene to prevent or stop as appropriate any officer from engaging in excessive force or any other use of force that violates the Constitution, other federal laws, or department policies on the reasonable use of force. So if they're there and if they see it, they have to stop it from happening, which is good. But in what percentage of cases are they actually gonna be there? So that's gonna limit it. It can't compel state or local police to do that. The DOJ does not control local or state police departments or their policy. But perhaps at some point, JR, a situation will come about where an FBI agent will be near cops or something like that, and they can get involved. Maybe we can send them out more, embed them with these departments, but it's a good change. It's just difficult to imagine how significant the change is gonna be on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were announcing this in a press conference to say how they've moved forward and progressed this, but yeah, I mean, maybe there's some circumstances I'm missing here, or if they happen, is it local cops or do you see like other Department of Justice officials doing something? I'm not sure how often they have these types of interactions where they can be caught by another colleague abusing anyone. Or is it window dressing? I feel like you're leaning in that direction, John. But it's.
I think it's good. It's just it's necessarily limited by the fact that it applies only to the DOJ.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because the talk about what the DOJ is or isn't doing, and people are becoming frustrated with what's the process. When are they going to start putting some indictments down? I'm not sure if this again, like it does sound like a bit of a publicity, a positive publicity story for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, it's a positive development, but I just wonder to what degree they're trying to get any kind of heat off of them over the lack of action, the inaction when it comes to things, when it comes to this, the January 6th stuff, Donald Trump. We're seeing so many things happen and people are waiting. They're just waiting for something. Here's something.
Yeah, people want change. They've been fighting for it for many, many years, and especially in light of the George Floyd protests. I don't think this was the extent of what they wanted, but it's good, it's fine. Here, let me do a little thought experiment. Think about this. Imagine if the change that was just announced, that if you see police officers engaging in brutality that goes against the Constitution or law, you have to intervene. Imagine if someone tried to pass that at the local or state level.
Oh my God.
You're saying if a cop sees someone else literally killing someone, they should do something about it? Fox would shut down as a media outlet. It's objectively the most reasonable thing and the most necessary reform that I can imagine for the cops, and they would lose it over that. And by the way, cops would lose it. Their unions would go to war over this. The idea that you should stop someone from beating someone to death. You're supposed to be protecting and serving, not protecting people and serving the law. Anyway,
I also want to let you know about they would say that there would be low police morale. They said there would be ineffective police work. They would say the crime would go up. They would say all those things. And what they wouldn't understand is the damning part about all those declarations would be, so you think beating up on citizens keeps crime down, assaulting people and killing people in many of these cases, make sure that it's effective police work? I think you're damning your own work.
Yeah, 100%. Really fast too, another reform that would mean much more if it were at the local or state level and applied to police officers. So they've updated their policy on deadly force. So back in 2004, the last edition of this, it stated that officers can use deadly force, quote, only when necessary. That is when the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force poses an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury to the officer or to another person, which, absent context, seems somewhat reasonable. Of course, cops are trained to believe that literally like a person like with their arms tied behind their back could kill them with their neck at any second. So in practice, it's got some issues. The new version though says it is the policy of the DOJ to value and preserve human life. And as a result, deadly force cannot be used on individuals fleeing to stop a moving vehicle or on individuals that are a threat solely to themselves or property. And that covers so many of these cases. We've watched, JR, people running away, getting shot in the back by cops. We've seen them just shoot at cars. That happened in California very recently, actually. People, like the idea that you can just gun down people who are committing property crimes, that is for some reason become a controversial thing here. If that change by the DOJ was applied to local and state police, that would be very significant.
Let me go on the optimistic route. Maybe they're trying to set a nice framework, maybe something that these local departments can look up to. Look, the Department of Justice is implementing this rule where their fellow officers and fellow officials will have to call out when someone else is doing these horrific things. Maybe we should do it too in Omaha.
Yeah.
You think it's gonna work?
We'll see. I think that in 3 years, Ron DeSantis will replace this with a new memo that just says, shoot first, we won't ask questions later.
It seems like it's outrageous, but it's kind of what they already do.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.